Well, I know I just put out a set review last week for Edge of Eternities, but guess what? We move damn fast in these modern times. We've had zero time with Edge of Eternity since these spoilers literally dropped before pre-release, but I am but one small mirror in Mimnarch's design. If our overlords want us to have these sets force-fed down our throat, I suppose I, as a small content creator, will grit my teeth and smile for now. I definitely would have liked some more time to look over cards in the Edge of Eternity set before more spoilers are here, but here we are. I mean, I do understand that there was a Comic-Con happening and that's why these cards were spoiled, but it's still rough timing. Oh well, I guess we just have to adapt, improvise, and overcome. And what better way to do that than look over the commander creatures we have and see if there's any worth making a deck for. For example, Anti-Venom will be a very funny Pillow Fort card. It kind of harkens back to a combination of Jared Carthalion and Runetail Kitsune Ascendant. It's also 5 white pips, so that is not splashable at all. Good luck running this outside of a mono white deck. But as your commander, you could also do some silly devotion things pretty easily. I don't know how much synergy there is in mono white devotion, but if there is, I'm putting it on screen now. Spider-Ham Peter Porker I think would make a very funny piece in a 5-color Bloomburrow pile. Spider-Punk is hilariously disruptive to blue mages. I might look into the Iron Spider since it gives a little bit of card advantage in colorless. The 1/1 counter theme it also provides does a pretty good job for a beatdown plan to finish things off. And I'm sure there's something we can do to break Symbiote Spider-Man by getting value out of him and then when he dies putting that on a ginormous creature and playing around in your graveyard and putting the best card in your hand. I don't know, I haven't 100% cracked that brew just yet, but know that I have my eye on that guy. But hey, I've stalled long enough. We all read the title. We all saw the thumbnail. It's time to talk about Green Goblin, who is actually not green at all. In fact, he's 3 generic and a Rakdos for a 3/3 flying Death Touch Goblin Villain Human. Wow, that's a mouthful. And his text says that when he attacks, you discard a card, then draw a card for each card you've discarded this turn. Now, I think the immediate obvious path that most people are going to think of when they see this text is probably Wheels. And honestly, Wheels is not always that fun to play against, and not really that optimal either, always putting gas in your opponent's hands and whatnot. Don't get me wrong, I think he could make it work, and the brews I'm about to present do have 1 or 2 wheel cards in it, but I would hardly call them wheel decks. I mean, honestly, he just draws cards as a reward for discarding cards, and let me tell you what, Red can discard cards like nobody's business. Let's see. There's 3 Pirates Village-like effects that we can toss in there to discard a card, draw 2, and make 2 treasures for mana, effectively making the spell only cost 2. Seize the Spoils is similar for 1 less mana and 1 less treasure. There must also be 1,000 effects that say discard a card as an additional cost and draw 2, or something similar to that effect, for only 2 mana. Okay, actually, there's like 9, including Romantic Rendezvous, a new card from Spider-Man, which is basically Tormenting Voice, except the discard is not an additional cost, and only happens when the spell resolves. I don't know who was going around countering Tormenting Voices and making people discard a card for it, but this gets around that, I guess. But there are also cards like Cathartic Reunion, which actually discards 2 cards to draw 3. Now mind you, without our commander, these effects only go card neutral because it costs a card plus you discarded a card to get that same number back into your hand. But that doesn't mean these cards are bad. They still let you look at several cards and throw away what you don't need right now and dig for something that would be better suited for the situation you're in. That said, in this shell specifically, once you have your commander out, they become even more card advantageous. And don't worry, we have plenty of other ways to discard cards in this deck, though they could be seen as more card disadvantage, but technically, most cards are card disadvantage. That's just the nature of the game, so it's not necessarily a bad thing. Now, when I say card disadvantage, that is technically true, but these cards provide advantage in other ways, so it's not like they're bad cards. For example, we have Fear of Missing Out, which costs the cards itself, discards you a card, and draws 1. So you go down a card in hand, but it increases your discard count and gives you extra combats, which is good for a commander with an attack trigger. Over the course of several turns, Vault 21 can discard 2 cards and draw 2, still going down a card, but on the 3rd turn you can reveal some cards from your hand and make up to 5 treasures in a perfect scenario. And I would say the curve in this deck is pretty consistent, so I would say you're usually making 3 or 4, pretty easy. And then I have a handful of cards in here that get value from discarding, since you're probably going to be doing that a lot. Monument of Endurance will get you treasures, draw you cards, and deal damage to the table. Unless you're incredibly unlucky with your draws, you should probably be triggering at least 2 of these each turn, if not all of them. Bone Miser is a bit expensive mana-wise, but it rewards you heavily depending on what you discard. Creatures are probably the last thing you want to discard with Bone Miser. But thankfully, the deck is relatively creature light, with there only being about 14 plus the commander. When you combine this card with Bog Witch, you can spend 1 black mana to discard a land and make 5 black mana, which is an insane ritual. Alright, value engines aside, we need ways to discard cards at will, because we can't always be paying mana every time you want to do the thing. Pact Weapon is a nice discard outlet at sorcery speed. Fun fact, you can equip an equipment to any target creature you control by paying the equip cost. The rules never say it has to be a different creature than the currently equipped, so as long as you control 1 creature, you can discard as many cards as you like. Scourge Familiar does this a little better since it makes mana and you can do it at instant speed. Again, if you control Bone Miser as well, you can discard a land to make 3 black mana. That means with this synergy, every land in your deck is basically a Black Lotus at instant speed. Alright, let's talk about ending the game, which is where my 2 builds begin to differ more dramatically. If you're hanging out in bracket 2 and you just want to get a little bit of value out of this commander, then I think it goes great with a Reanimator build. You're already throwing half your cards in the garbage, might as well pull them out for way cheaper than they went in. Along with a bunch of reanimation effects, I like running things like Valgavoth, Terror Eater, Shieldred the Whispering One, and Psychosis Crawler as splashy pieces I don't really want to pay for, but work nicely in the deck. From there, get a little bit of protection in there, and you can bring yourself to Beatdown City using your commander to keep a full grip while you'll close the game with time. The manual Stormbrew is a lot more at home in bracket 3 and plays a lot differently. There is still 1 or 2 reanimation effects here, but this is more to grab your value engines should they eat up some removal. Psychosis Crawler is also still here, but rather than drawing a handful of cards every turn, you'll probably be drawing 17 or 18 in 1 turn and popping the board for that good amount. Ruby Medallion, Stormkiln Artist, and Bergie are all here to make the job of storming off a little easier. And in this particular deck, the backside of Bergie is actually somewhat useful in a pinch, since it's another discard outlet. Most of the time you'll still be wanting the front side, but the backside is there. Once you have plenty of discard draw spells in your hand and a couple of value engine going, Aether Flux Reservoir, Sentinel Tower, or Kuja Genome Sorcerer are some of my favorite ways to end games. And since you'll be presumably drawing 10 to 20 cards come the late game, I do have quite a few no maximum hand size effects in the deck as well. It's just nice to have a lot of cards in your hand to help you manually storm off when you're ready to. Lastly, I have Underworld Breach and Past in Flames to keep the manual storm going that much longer, pulling cards right back out of your graveyard. Now for a deck like this, I cannot stress how important it is to goldfish the hell out of it. Especially the Storm version, since these turns can be incredibly dirtily if you don't know the exact lines. So out of respect for your opponent's time, it's best that you really know what you're doing with this deck. I am planning on making a whole video on the topic of goldfishing, and when that's out, I'll probably put a card right here linking to it. But for now, you're just gonna have to sit in anticipation. Anyway, I think that's about all I have to say about Spider-Man for now. Hopefully I can start looking at Edge of Eternity more now that I got this video out. And if more Spider-Man spoilers come out, you can expect more content on it, but I am hoping to wait till actual preview season to talk more about it. However, that is largely dependent on how much hype Wizards tries to create for Spider-Man. It helps a ton if you like, subscribe, and comment. But hey, even if you just got this far in the video, I do super appreciate it. Either way, if you want to support me outside of these videos, you can go check me out on TikTok, where a lot of my short form content gets uploaded the same as YouTube Shorts, if a bit behind. You can also follow me on Blue Sky if you want to keep up with my not so hot takes in between videos, or engage with me outside of the comment section. Oh, and as always, have a good one.